This is the video tutorial for the Happy Days Julia Flex Purse. It opens, put the money in, snaps shut, all safe. And this is how we make it. You'll need 2 contrasting fabrics, they're only small pieces, and a flex spring clip 12 cm long. We'll start by making the channeling for the flex clip. Measure 1 cm in from this edge and fold. I've turned over by 1 cm. I've used zipper tape to keep it fixed in place, but if you haven't got any zipper tape, the next stage is to carefully sew fairly close to the edge all the way down. And I'm going to repeat exactly the same for this end. And then repeat exactly the same for the other piece of channeling fabric. Now, fold in half, wrong sides to wrong sides, so you're looking at the pretty side. Line up all the sides and edges and press. Next, fold it in half as I'm doing and finger press, then open out. This is just to determine where the centre is. We're now working on the front piece. Make sure that this is the top, it's the longest side. Fold in half just to determine the centre and finger press. Open out. Now take your channeling and using the crease you made in the channeling and the crease on the front piece, line them up and line up the raw edges at the top and add some clips. Everything's lined up and I've added some clips, and now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and tack into place. So sew fairly close to the edge. You won't see these stitches in the final make. I've carefully tacked really close to the edge just to keep it in place. Now take the lining fabric and place right sides together, so pretty side to pretty side on top, and line up all your sides and edges and then add some clips. I've added some clips and now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine, but this time use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, starting here, go all the way along and stop. I've sewn all the way across using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to repeat for the other fabrics. That's my 2 halves complete, and now we're going to join everything together. Now open out. You might like to take it over to your iron and press it at this stage. Now place one on top of the other. Line up all the sides and edges and add some clips. I've added my clips and I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and use a 1/4 inch seam allowance, sew all the way along. As you're coming down, make sure that you don't sew over your channeling and stop. The other side, all the way down, stop at your gap, start again and stop. I've sewn all the way along, being careful not to sew over the channeling, and I've sewn all the way along here and I've remembered to leave a gap. I haven't sewn along the bottom. The next stage is to put your hand in, open it out and match this seam and this seam up, add a clip and match this seam and this seam and add a clip. I've added further clips and now I'm going to take it over the sewing machine and use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So starting here, sew across and stop. Starting here and stop. I've sewn the ends across this side and along here, and now I'm going to turn it the right way out through the gap I left. I've turned it the right way out and I've pushed out the corners, and now I've got to sew up the gap. And to sew up the gap, pull your fabric apart a bit, pinch it together and sew across. I've sewn up my gap and now I'm going to tuck the lining inside the outer. Now take your flex clip and put one leg through this side and one leg through this side. When you've pushed your clip through, clip these two together and then they'll give you a little pin, and you put the little pin in. It's a bit fiddly, and if you haven't done these before, practice first. And then pop that in and then get some pliers and squeeze together. I'll pop my pin in and I'll fold it over the end, and now I'm going to sort out my channeling. And that's your Julia Flex purse all finished.